Jack Harris stood at the viewing window of the Earth Alliance vessel Meridian, watching the swirling blue-green atmosphere of planet Zelaria grow larger. His heart beat faster than normal. He ran his hand through his short brown hair and took a deep breath to calm himself. "Lieutenant Harris, report to the bridge immediately," said a voice over the ship's speakers. Jack turned away from the window and walked quickly through the metal corridors. Other crew members nodded at him as he passed. He had been on the Meridian for 3 years as a communications specialist, but never had he expected to play such an important role in humanity's future. When Jack reached the bridge, Captain Lisa Wright motioned him over. "Lieutenant, we've received a strange request from the Zellarian Royal House," she said, her expression serious. "Princess Lyria has personally asked for you to be her human cultural guide during the peace talks." Jack blinked in surprise. "Me? But why? There are more qualified diplomats aboard." Captain Wright shrugged. "The princess reviewed all crew profiles and selected you specifically. This is our first real chance at an alliance with an advanced alien civilization. Whatever the reason, you will accept this assignment." "Yes, Captain," Jack replied. Though his mind raced with questions, the Meridian landed at the Zellarian capital spaceport 3 hours later. Jack stood with the official diplomatic team at the ship's exit ramp. He wore his formal blue and gold Earth Alliance uniform, freshly pressed for the occasion. Ambassador Diane Palmer gave final instructions to the team. "Remember, we know very little about Zellarian customs. Follow their lead and avoid any actions that might seem disrespectful." The ramp lowered with a soft hiss, revealing a group of tall, slender beings waiting on the landing platform. Their skin shimmered with colors that shifted like oil on water blues, purples and greens flowing across their bodies. Most wore flowing robes that seemed to be made of living material, moving slightly even when they stood still. In the center stood a figure who could only be Princess Lyria. She was taller than the others, her skin shimmering more intensely with colors that reminded Jack of deep space nebulas. A simple silver circlet rested on her head, which had no hair but instead a crown-like crest that glowed softly. The Earth delegation walked down the ramp. Ambassador Palmer stepped forward first, giving a formal bow. "Greetings from Earth. We come in peace and friendship." Princess Lyria stepped forward as well. When she spoke, her voice was like music, clear and flowing with unusual harmonies. "Earth friends, welcome to Zellaria. We have awaited this day with great anticipation." Her eyes, large and with swirling patterns of purple and blue instead of pupils, scanned the group until they found Jack. "Lieutenant Harris, I am pleased you have come." Jack was startled to hear his name. He stepped forward and bowed as the ambassador had done. "Thank you for the invitation, Your Highness." After formal greetings were exchanged, the Earth delegation was led to a fleet of hovering vehicles. Jack found himself directed to the same transport as Princess Lyria. Separated from the rest of his team. As they glided over the Zellarian capital city, Jack struggled not to stare at the princess. Up close, he could see that what looked like skin was actually millions of tiny scales that caught the light and reflected it in different colors. She had no nose, only slight indentations, and her mouth was smaller than a human's. "You are curious about my appearance," Lyria said suddenly, turning to face him. Jack felt his face grow warm. "I'm sorry if I was staring." "This is my first direct contact with a Zellarian." To his surprise, Lyria made a sound like bells chiming laughter, he realized. "And you are the first human I have met in person, though I have studied your species extensively," she replied. "That is why I requested you specifically, Lieutenant Harris." "May I ask why me?" Jack said, then quickly added, "Your Highness." "Please, when we are speaking privately, call me Lyria," she said. "As for why I chose you of all the humans in your delegation, your psychological profile showed the highest capacity for cross-species empathy. You also have extensive training in linguistics and cultural studies," Jack nodded. His background was in xenolinguistics, the study of potential alien languages, though he'd never expected to use it so directly. "But there is another reason," Lyria continued, her voice lower. "Something about your mind pattern is familiar to me, though I cannot explain why." Zilarians have limited telepathic abilities, you see. Jack tried not to show his surprise. Telepathy had not been mentioned in any of the briefing materials about XELARINS. The transport slowed as they approached a tall, crystal-like structure that seemed to grow from the ground rather than being built upon it. The royal house, Lyria explained. You will stay here as my guest during the 6 Earth months of our diplomatic mission. As they entered the building, Jack saw that the inside was just as strange and beautiful as the outside. The walls glowed with soft light and what looked like plants and architecture blended together seamlessly. I have prepared a space for you that should meet human needs, Lyria said, leading him down a corridor. Tomorrow we begin our cultural exchange in earnest. The success of the alliance may depend on how well we bridge the gap between our worlds. Jack's room was surprisingly Earth-like, with adjustments for human comfort a bed, familiar furniture, and a view of the Zilarian landscape through a large window. Rest now, Lyria said from the doorway. Tomorrow will bring many new experiences. After she left, Jack sat on the edge of the bed, trying to process everything that had happened. Just 3 years ago, humanity had discovered they weren't alone in the universe when Zilarian ships appeared near Earth's moon. Now he was on their home planet, personally selected by their princes for reasons he didn't fully understand. Jack walked to the window and looked out at the alien landscape. The sky had turned a deep purple as night fell, and 3 small moons were visible among unfamiliar stars. In the distance, buildings that seemed half-grown, half-built reached toward the sky. What have I gotten myself into? He whispered to himself. But despite his nervousness, Jack felt something else too. Excitement and wonder at being the first human to truly connect with this alien world. He didn't know that Princess Lyria stood in her own chamber, looking at his image on a display. She hadn't told him everything about why she chose him. She hadn't mentioned that among thousands of human profiles, his was the only one that created a resonance in her mind, a connection that, according to Zilarian belief, should have been impossible with a non-telepathic species. Let us hope I have chosen wisely, she said softly to herself, for both our worlds. 3 weeks passed on planet Zilaria. Jack Harris sat beside Princess Lyria in a garden filled with plants that moved on their own, some reaching toward him as if curious. The air smelled sweet, like cinnamon mixed with something he couldn't name. So in human marriage you choose your own partner? Lyria asked. Her skin rippled with shades of blue and purple as she spoke. Most of the time, yes, Jack replied. People meet, fall in love, and decide to spend their lives together. Lyria's eyes swirled with colors. Fascinating. On Zilaria, royal marriages are planned from birth. My union with Prince Valkor of the Draconid Empire has been arranged for over 100 years. Jack felt a strange twist in his stomach at her words. 100 years? How long do Zilarians live? About 500 of your Earth years, Lyria said. I am considered very young at just 73. Jack tried not to show his surprise. Lyria looked no older than he was, though everything about her was alien. And this Prince Valkor, do you know him well? Jack asked. Lyria's colors darkened slightly. We have met only 3 times. The marriage is not about personal feelings, but about bringing peace between our worlds. The Draconids are a powerful species. Their technology is even more advanced than ours. One of the moving plants brushed against Jack's hand. Unlike Earth plants, it was warm to the touch. What do you want to learn about humans today? Jack asked, changing the subject. Your art, Lyria said, her colors brightening again. I have studied human paintings and music, but I do not understand how you create without telepathic connection. Jack pulled out his tablet and showed her images of famous Earth paintings. Lyria leaned close, her scent like ocean air. Each human artist creates alone, Jack explained. They put their own feelings and ideas into their work. But how do they know what others want to see? Lyria asked. They don't. They create what matters to them personally, and others either connect with it or they don't. Lyria's face showed. An expression Jack had learned was wonder. That is beautiful in a way I never considered. Zilarian art is always made by groups linked in mind. The result pleases everyone but surprises no one. Later that day, Jack joined the official Earth delegation for their daily meeting. Ambassador Palmer pulled him aside when the others left. "You're spending a lot of time with the princess," she said, her tone serious. "That's my assignment," Jack replied. Ambassador Palmer frowned. "Your assignment is to help with cultural understanding, not become her personal friend. Remember, Lieutenant Harris, she may look somewhat like us, but Zilarians don't think like humans. Their telepathic abilities make them fundamentally different." "I understand my role, Ambassador," Jack said stiffly. "Do you? Because the way you look at her suggests otherwise?" The ambassador sighed. "Just be careful. She's engaged to a prince from a species that already distrusts humans. We can't afford any ... complications." Jack wanted to argue, but knew she was right. In the 3 weeks he'd spent with Lyria, he had grown too attached. It wasn't just that she was fascinating, there was something about her that felt familiar, as if he'd known her before somehow. That evening, Jack attended a formal dinner with high-ranking Zilarians and the Earth delegation. He wore his dress uniform and stood near the wall, watching as Lyria moved through the crowd. In her formal robes that shifted colors with her emotions, she was stunning. An older Zilarian approached Jack. His skin had faded to pale blue, and his movements were slower than the younger ones. "I'm Council Elder Nixer," he said. "You are the human who spends time with Princess Lyria," Jack bowed slightly. "Yes, sir." "Lieutenant Jack Harris?" The elder's eyes swirled slowly. "Be cautious, Lieutenant. The princess has shown unusual interest in you. Some on the council find this concerning." "We're just learning about each other's cultures," Jack said. "Perhaps." Elder Nixer leaned closer. "But know this, her marriage to Prince Valkor is vital to our survival. The Draconids have weapons that could destroy both our worlds. This union has been planned for generations." After the elder walked away, Jack watched Lyria across the room. She looked up and met his eyes, her colors brightening slightly. She excused herself from her conversation and walked toward him. "You seem troubled," she said when she reached him. "Just thinking about what you told me earlier about your arranged marriage." Lyria's colors darkened. "It is my duty. The Draconids have been expanding their territory for centuries. Our scientists believe they could easily defeat both Solaria and Earth if they chose to attack. When will you marry him?" Jack asked. "In 3 months," she said quietly. "When the diplomatic mission ends." The next morning, Jack received a message from Earth Command. Reports had come in of Draconid ships testing Earth's colony borders. Tensions were rising. Jack met Lyria at their usual garden spot. Today she wanted to learn about human music. He played recordings of classical pieces, jazz, and pop songs. Lyria closed her eyes to listen. "Your music is so individual," she said. "Each piece carries the emotion of one person. Our music is always a group creating together, sharing one feeling." Jack showed her how to hold his tablet and use the simple music program. Her long fingers moved across the screen, creating a simple melody. When she looked up at him, her colors were the brightest he had ever seen them. "I made something alone," she said, sounding amazed. "Just me, not connected to others." "What did it feel like?" Jack asked. "Lonely," she said. "But also ... free." That night Jack couldn't sleep. He stood at his window, looking at the 3 moons of Zelaria. He knew he was developing feelings for Lyria that went beyond his assignment. It was impossible, foolish, and potentially dangerous for both their worlds. In her chambers, Lyria also stood awake, watching the same moons. For the first time in her life, the constant telepathic hum of her people's thoughts felt intrusive, rather than comforting. She had begun to understand the human way of being separate, individual, alone in one's mind. She thought of Jack, so different from her people yet somehow familiar. She thought of Prince Valkor and the cold, formal meetings they had shared. And for the first time in her 73 years, Princess Lyria of Zelaria understood what humans called longing, the wish for something you cannot have. The morning sun cast a purple glow through the crystal towers of the Zalarian capital. Jack followed Princess Lyria through a series of underground tunnels beneath the royal palace. They had been on Zelaria for nearly 3 months now. Where are we going? Jack asked, ducking under a low passage. To our most sacred place, Lyria replied. Her skin shimmered with excitement, flashes of gold appearing among the usual blues and purples. The ancestral caverns, few non-Zellarians have ever seen them. The tunnel opened into a vast underground cavern. Jack stopped and stared in wonder. The walls were covered with glowing crystals that pulsed with light. In the center of the cavern stood a circle of tall crystal columns. This is where our people first developed telepathic abilities, Lyria explained. The crystals contain the memory patterns of our ancestors going back thousands of years. Jack walked slowly beside her, feeling small in the ancient space. It's beautiful. I wanted to show you this place because ... Lyria paused, her colors shifting to deeper blues. There is something I need to tell you, Jack. The way she said his name, without his rank or title, made his heart beat faster. What is it? He asked. You know that Zellarians have telepathic abilities, she said. But what I haven't told you is that we can form special mental bonds with others. These bonds are usually only between Zellarians who will be life partners. Jack tried to keep his expression neutral. Like marriage? Deeper than your concept of marriage, Lyria said. It is a sharing of minds, memories, feelings, thoughts. Once formed, the connection never fully breaks, even across great distances. She took a step closer to him. In all our history, no Zellarian has ever attempted such a bond with a non-telepathic species. Jack suddenly understood what she was suggesting. Are you saying you want to try this with me? Lyria's skin rippled with waves of color. Yes, I believe it might be possible between us. I have felt a resonance with your mind since we first met. Is it dangerous? Jack asked. I don't know, she admitted. But I trust you, Jack Harris. And I want you to truly understand my world. Before I must leave it behind. Jack knew he should refuse. This was far beyond his mission parameters. But standing in the ancient cavern with Lyria, he couldn't bring himself to say no. What do I need to do? He asked. Lyria led him to the center of the crystal circle. Just stand still and open your mind. Try not to resist what you feel. She placed her cool hands on either side of his face. Her large eyes, with their swirling galaxy patterns, locked with his dot at first. Jack felt nothing. Then a warm sensation began to spread from where her hands touched his skin. The feeling moved deeper, past his physical body and into his mind. Suddenly, Jack wasn't just himself anymore. He could feel Lyria's presence inside his thoughts, gentle, curious, ancient yet young. Images flooded his mind. Lyria as a child learning to control her telepathic abilities. The weight of responsibility as she trained to become ruler of her people. The fear she felt about her arranged marriage. And most surprisingly, the growing feelings she had developed for him. At the same time, Jack knew Lyria was experiencing his memories, his childhood on Earth's colony on Mars, his years at the academy, his loneliness despite being surrounded by people, and his own deepening feelings for her that he had tried to ignore. When they finally separated, Jack gasped and stumbled backward. His mind felt both expanded and raw, like a muscle used too hard for the first time. Lyria's skin was pulsing with rapid color changes. Are you all right? She asked, her voice shaking. Yes, Jack whispered. That was ... I don't have words. I saw everything, Lyria said. Your childhood, your dreams, your fears. She stepped closer to him again. And your feelings for me. Jack didn't deny it. After what they had shared, there was no point in hiding anything. I saw yours too. My people experience emotions differently than humans, Lyria explained. What you call love is spread among many in our collective consciousness. We don't feel it so intensely toward one person. And now? Jack asked. Lyria's colors shifted to a deep rose color he had never seen before. Now, I understand why humans write songs and poems about love. The way you feel it is so ... overwhelming. They stood in silence for a long moment, both understanding that something fundamental had changed between them. What happens now? Jack finally asked. The bond we created can never be fully broken, Lyria said. Even after I marry Prince Valkor, part of me will always be connected to you." The mention of the prince brought reality crashing back. Jack stepped away from her. This was a mistake. "Your marriage is in 2 months? It's supposed to prevent war between our worlds." "I know my duty," Lyria said, her colors fading to muted blues. "But I needed you to understand why I must do it, why I must marry him even though ... She didn't finish the sentence. When they returned to the palace, Commander Ryan Bishop was waiting for Jack. His face was stern. "Lieutenant Harris, we need to talk," he said privately. In a small meeting room, Commander Bishop didn't bother sitting down. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Harris?" "Sir?" Jack tried to look confused, but after the bond with Lyria, his emotions felt too close to the surface. "Don't play dumb." The Zilarian Royal Council contacted Ambassador Palmer. "They detected some kind of telepathic activity between you and the princess." The commander leaned in closer. "Whatever is happening between you two ends now. Do you understand? What's at stake here? Two civilizations are watching." "Nothing inappropriate has happened, sir," Jack said, which wasn't exactly a lie. By human standards, they had only shared thoughts. "The Draconids already distrust us," Commander Bishop continued. "If they suspect their future queen has formed an inappropriate bond with a human, they might see it as reason enough to attack. Their ships are already testing our borders." "I understand, sir," Jack said quietly. "Do you? Because I'm seriously considering sending you back to the Meridian and requesting a replacement. That won't be necessary, sir. I'll maintain proper diplomatic distance from now on." After Commander Bishop left, Jack sat alone in the room. He could feel Lyria's presence in his mind, faint but unmistakable. He knew she could sense his distress. In her private chambers, Lyria stood by the window, looking out at the city. She could feel Jack's confusion and pain through their new bond. For the first time in her life, she questioned her duty to her people. The marriage to Prince Valkar loomed ahead of her like a dark shadow. But now she understood something that few Zilarians ever experienced: the human way of loving one person completely, with all your heart. And for the first time, she wondered if duty alone was enough reason to live. 2 weeks passed since Jack and Lyria formed their telepathic bond. They followed orders and kept their meetings formal and public, but the connection between their minds remained. Jack could sense Lyria's feelings even from across the palace. At night, he sometimes dreamed her memories. One morning, Jack was eating breakfast with the Earth delegation when Ambassador Palmer received an urgent message. "Prince Valkor's ship has entered Zilarian orbit," she announced, her face serious. "He wasn't expected for another 6 weeks." Jack felt a spike of fear that wasn't his own. Through their bond, he sensed Lyria's sudden panic. "Why is he arriving?" "Early?" Commander Bishop asked. "Unknown," said the ambassador. "But we've been ordered to attend a formal welcome dinner tonight." Jack spent the day helping the delegation prepare for the dinner. All the while, he could feel Lyria's growing anxiety. He wanted to go to her, but he knew he couldn't that evening. The grand hall of the palace was filled with Zilarian officials in their finest robes. The Earth delegation stood together in their formal uniforms. Jack tried to look calm, but inside he was nervous about meeting the prince. A horn-like instrument sounded, and the Zilarians parted to make way for Princess Lyria. She entered wearing formal robes that shifted between deep blues and purples. Her skin was subdued, not showing the usual bright colors Jack had grown used to seeing. Then the main doors opened, and Prince Valkor entered with his entourage. Jack's first thought was that Valkor looked nothing like the Zilarians. Where they were slender and graceful, he was tall and powerful. His skin was covered in fine scales that shimmered like metal. Instead of the swirling galaxy eyes of Zilarians, his eyes burned orange like distant suns. 2 small horns curved back from his forehead. Valkor moved with confident steps toward Lyria and bowed slightly. "Princess, it brings me joy to see you again," he said in a deep voice. His words were polite, but Jack could sense no warmth in them. "Prince Valkor, we welcome you to Zalaria," Lyria replied formally. "Your early arrival is ... unexpected." Valkor's mouth formed what might have been a smile, showing teeth that looked sharp. I received reports about your human guests and grew curious. The Draconid Empire has had little contact with Earth. During dinner, Jack sat with the Earth delegation, far from the main table where Lyria and Valkor were seated. He tried not to stare at them, but he couldn't help noticing how different they looked together, like creatures from entirely separate worlds, which of course they were. Through their bond, Jack could feel Lyria's discomfort and her effort to hide it. Once, she glanced his way, and their eyes met briefly before she looked away. After the main meal, Prince Valkor stood and addressed the room. I would like to meet our human guests, he announced. It is rare for the Draconid Empire to encounter new species. Ambassador Palmer led the Earth delegation to the main table. She introduced each member formally. When she reached Jack, Valkor's orange eyes narrowed slightly. Lieutenant Jack Harris, Communications Specialist and Cultural Liaison to Princess Lyria, the ambassador said. Ah, the Cultural Liaison, Valkor said, studying Jack closely. I have heard much about your educational exchanges with the princess. Jack bowed respectfully. It has been an honor to learn about Zilarian culture, Your Highness. I'm sure it has, Valkor said. His voice remained polite, but there was an edge to it. Tell me, Lieutenant Harris, what aspect of Zilarian culture do you find most fascinating? Jack could feel Lyria's warning through their bond. Their approach to art and music, Your Highness. The collaborative nature of Zilarian creativity is very different from human methods. Indeed, said Valkor, Draconids also create differently than humans. We build to last millennia. Our weapons, for example, are works of art that can destroy entire planets. The threat was barely hidden. Ambassador Palmer quickly moved the conversation to safer topics, but the damage was done. Valkor had made it clear he saw humans as potential enemies. Later that night, Jack couldn't sleep. He walked in the palace gardens, hoping the fresh air would calm his mind. The 3 moons of Zelaria lit the paths with soft light. He sensed Lyria's presence before he saw her. She stepped out from behind a tall flowering plant, her skin glowing faintly in the moonlight. We shouldn't be seen together, Jack said, though. He made no move to leave. The garden is empty at this hour, Lyria replied, and I needed to speak with you. About Prince Valkor? Lyria's colors darkened. He arrived early because Draconid spies reported our ... closeness. He came to claim his territory. You're not territory, Jack said, anger rising in him. To the Draconids I am, Lyria said. Our marriage will join our worlds and give them access to Zilarian space. That is all that matters to them. And to you? Jack asked. What matters to you? Lyria stepped closer to him. In the moonlight, her eyes were deep pools of swirling stars. Before I met you, duty was all I knew. Now ... She looked away. Now I understand what I will never have. Jack wanted to touch her, to comfort her, but he knew he shouldn't. There must be another way to secure peace between our worlds. There isn't, Lyria said. The Draconids have technology that could destroy both Solaria and Earth. This marriage has been planned for generations to prevent war. Jack felt her sadness through their bond, deep and overwhelming. I'm sorry, he said. I've made things harder for you. No, Lyria said. Her voice was soft but firm. You have shown me something I never knew existed. Before you, I did not understand what it meant to feel as an individual, not just as part of the collective. She moved closer until she stood directly before him. Jack Harris, I wish you were the one I could marry, she whispered. In another life, perhaps we could have found a way. The confession hung in the air between them. Through their bond, Jack felt the truth of her words and the pain behind them. Without thinking, he reached out and took her hand. Her skin was cool against his, and where they touched, a soft glow spread. We'll find another solution, Jack promised, though he had no idea what that might be. What neither of them knew was that Ambassador Palmer had come to the garden for her own late-night walk. From behind a tall plant, she watched their exchange with growing alarm. By morning, Jack would receive orders to return to the Meridian, but before those orders could be delivered, news arrived that changed everything. A Draconid warship had opened fire on an Earth outpost near the border of their space, claiming it had violated their territory. The personal connection between a human lieutenant and an alien princess was about to become the focal point of a potential interstellar war. The palace was in chaos. News of the Draconid attack on the Earth outpost spread quickly. Emergency meetings were called. Jack was summoned to the main conference room where Earth and Zilarian officials gathered around a large table. Ambassador Palmer's face was grim. The outpost was research only, minimal defenses. 12 Earth citizens are dead. This is clearly a provocation, Commander Bishop said. They want war. Jack stood at the back of the room, his mind racing. Through their bond, he could feel Lyria's distress. Though she wasn't present, Prince Valkar entered the room with his advisors. His orange eyes surveyed the humans coldly. My government claims your outpost violated our territory, he said without greeting. The attack was justified? The outpost was well within Earth's established borders, Ambassador Palmer replied. We have the star charts to prove it. Valkar made a dismissive gesture. Charts can be misinterpreted. Mistakes happen. 12 people dead is not a mistake. Commander Bishop said, his voice tight with anger. The arguments continued for hours. Jack said nothing, but he watched Valkar carefully. The prince seemed almost pleased by the tension. Several times, Jack caught Valkar looking at him with what seemed like satisfaction. When the meeting ended with no resolution, Jack was ordered to return to the Meridian. Pack your things, Lieutenant, Commander Bishop told him. You're being reassigned. Back in his room, Jack quickly gathered his belongings. As he finished, there was a soft knock at his door. He opened it to find a young Zilarian aide. Princess Lyria requests your presence in the Crystal Garden, the aide said. Immediately. Jack knew he should refuse, but he couldn't. This might be his last chance to see her. The Crystal Garden was a small, private space near Lyria's quarters. When Jack arrived, he found her alone, her skin pulsing with rapid color changes that showed her distress. You're being sent away, she said. It wasn't a question. Through their bond, she already knew. Yes, Jack replied. Commander Bishop thinks it's for the best. This is Valkor's doing, Lyria said. He ordered the attack to create conflict. He knows about our bond and wants you gone. How could he know? About the bond? Jack asked. The Draconids have technology that can detect telepathic energy, Lyria explained. He knows something connects us, though he may not understand what. Jack stepped closer to her. What can we do? I don't know, Lyria. Admitted. If I refuse to marry Valkar, he will likely declare war on both our worlds. The Draconid fleet is already positioning for attack. Jack thought hard. There had to be a solution that didn't end in war or in Lyria sacrificing her happiness. What? If there was another way to create peace between our worlds? He said slowly. Something besides a royal marriage? Like what? Lyria asked. Before Jack could answer, the door to the garden opened. Ambassador Palmer entered, followed by Elder Nixer of the Zilarian Council. Lieutenant Harris, the ambassador said sharply, you were ordered to prepare for departure. Ambassador. Please, Jack said. I think I might have a solution to our problem. The problem is that you've created a diplomatic nightmare, Palmer replied. A human officer forming an inappropriate bond with an alien princess who is engaged to the prince of a hostile power. The bond was my choice, Lyria said firmly. And it has shown me something important. There are better ways to create peace than forced marriages. Elder Nixer stepped forward, his pale blue skin glowing softly. What do you propose, human? Jack took a deep breath. The Zilarians value telepathic connection. The humans value trade and cultural exchange. The Draconids value power and technology. What if we created a three-way alliance that gives each species what they value most? Explain, Elder Nixer said. A trinary accord, Jack continued. Zelaria shares limited telepathic technology with Earth. Earth provides resources and cultural diversity to both worlds. The Draconids share some of their advanced technology with both partners in exchange for expanded territory and uninhabited systems. Ambassador Palmer looked skeptical. Prince Valkar would never agree to this. He might, Lyria said, if it were presented to him as a stronger position than just marrying me. The Draconids respect power above all else. The next day, a special council was called. Representatives from Earth, Zolaria, and the Draconid Empire gathered in the Great Hall. Prince Valkor sat stone-faced as Ambassador Palmer presented the idea of the Trinary Accord. "This is nonsense," Valkor said when she finished. "Our arrangement with Zolaria is already decided. The princess will become my queen, and our empires will be joined." "And what of Earth?" Palmer asked. "Will you continue attacking our outposts?" Valkor's eyes narrowed. "Earth is not our concern." Lyria stepped forward then. Her skin glowed with unusual brightness, and Jack could feel her gathering her courage through their bond. "I wish to address the council," she said, all eyes turned. To her, she stood tall, her royal training evident in her posture. "For generations we have believed that peace could only be secured through royal marriage," she began. "But my time with the humans has shown me there are other paths." She touched a crystal on the table before her, and it projected images above them, scenes of Earth and Exalaria, of humans and Zolarians working together. "The humans have something we lack: individual creativity and drive. The Draconids have technological power we can only dream of. Together, the three of our species could create something greater than any could achieve alone." Valkor stood. "This is because of him, isn't it?" He pointed at Jack. "This human has turned you against your own traditions." "No," Lyria said calmly. "He has helped me see them more clearly. Our telepathic abilities let us share thoughts, but the humans have taught me the value of independent thinking." She turned to face Valkor directly. "You don't want me, Prince Valkor. You want Zolarian territory and resources. The Trinary Accord would give you more than our marriage ever could legitimate: access to 2 civilizations worth of new systems." For a long moment Valkor was silent. Then, surprisingly, he laughed. "You are more clever than I gave you credit." "For Princess," he looked around the room. "Very well. I will consider this Trinary Accord." 3 months later, Jack stood on the observation deck of the Meridian, watching as representatives from all 3 worlds signed the historic agreement. The Trinary Accord created shared territories, technology exchanges, and a new joint council. For resolving disputes, Lyria entered the deck, now wearing the formal robes of Zolaria's ambassador to the Trinary Council. Through their bond, Jack could feel her happiness. "It worked," he said as she joined him at the window. "Better than we hoped," she agreed. "The Draconids have already withdrawn their ships from Earth's borders. And us?" Jack asked quietly. "What happens now?" Lyria's color shifted to the rose, shade that he now knew meant affection. "I will represent Zolaria on the council. You will represent Earth. We will build this new alliance together." "We'll still be from different worlds?" Jack said. "Yes," Lyria agreed. "I will always be Zolarian royalty, and you will always be human. But we have created something neither of us could have built alone." Jack looked out at the stars. "Is it enough?" Lyria's hand found his, and where they touched, their skin glowed with shared light, a visible sign of their invisible bond. "It is a beginning," she said. "And in diplomacy as in love, beginnings are everything." Outside the ship's windows, the stars stretched out before them, not as separate territories to be claimed, but as a shared frontier for 3 civilizations learning to grow together. The unlikely bond between a human lieutenant and an alien princess had changed the course of history for all their worlds, and though they came from different planets, though their bodies and minds were formed from different stuff entirely, Jack and Lyria knew that some connections transcended the boundaries of species. Some bonds, once formed, could never truly be broken.